it's the spooky month, and I play a lot of horror games every year. I try to give as many games a chance as possible because sometimes you run into some really interesting games. No!
No!
Even some bad games have some new creative ways to try and scare me, but most of the stuff you see has been done since 2012. So in this video, I cut all of that out to show you all of the best horror games of 2023 and the ones I didn't get around to playing last year, and they're good. We're starting out swinging with maybe the best game on the list. Greener Grass Awaits is a golfing horror game. Surprisingly, the horror in this game isn't old men lecturing you in between holes about how the coffee you bought this morning made it so you can't buy a house. It's these flesh-eating cult members that worship some sort of golf god? Okay, they're not that much scarier than a plaid-covered golfer with Amazon stock they bought from the 2000s. Most horror games these days are haunted houses, where you kind of just walk around and have things jump out at you. So I'm always thrilled to play a horror game with, you know, game to play. The controls are pretty wacky, but they feel great to eventually get the hang of and land great shots. It gives you plenty of time to get accustomed to them before the enemies of the game show up. Ah! These guys are the classic, look at me to stop me from moving, but don't look too long, we've seen for a very long time now. But it's more interesting when you work golf into the mix. There's a couple different versions of these guys, and they do act a little different, but nothing that made them wildly different from each other. I would normally complain that you kind of deal with these guys in the same way each time, but the game quickly moves on from this to essentially a completely different game. It does a great job of keeping you on your toes, pivoting from being actually funny.
Hey! The course is closed.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it is, so you should get going.
Yeah, I know. To actually pretty unsettling quickly. It's just overall a great game with a cool finale. What par is this hole, dude? And some intriguing unlocks if you just can't get enough golfing. And speaking of golfing, here's a game with absolutely no golfing. It came out over a year ago, but it has light bee-hopping mechanics, so I had to talk about it, alright? Listen, I don't make the rules, you'll have to take it up with management. If you just took Panic and boiled it down to its purest form, it'd look like this game with all the enemies unlocked and the drive-thru turned on.
I made a mistake, dude. I've made a huge mistake. This guy's honking at me. What does he want? He wants like 2 shakes. This is impossible. Hello? Okay. Oh. I'm gonna hyperventilate. I'm gonna hyperventilate. Trash, are you joking? The burger, dude. No, wait! The burger! Fucking, I hate everything. One was no mustard, right? Oh my god.
It's not a bunch of tense moments leading to jump scares. Ah! But it does perfectly emulate what I imagine working at a McDonald's at 2 a.m. in downtown Seattle is like.
Sir, wait in line. Sir!
Thankfully, during the most stressful points of the night, our line cook Toe has got our back. He vigilantly watches burger patties burn and gives me verbal, emotional support when I need it.
Stop! Stop it!
This game has really got it all. Cutscenes, bosses, upgrades, but I kept finding myself wanting to just work the restaurant and earn money.
I just want to make burgers.
I feel like that's what the game was built around, but it ended up feeling like such a small part of it. The scariest parts of the games were getting surprised by some random enemy wandering into my kitchen. Ah! That's why some of the boss fights kind of end up falling flat. Sometimes adding a single enemy that just slowly follows you and slightly inconveniences what you would have been doing normally. But you know it's a pretty solid game when my main complaint is just not being able to play the game more. Speaking of gameplay, here's a game with, less. Much to my surprise, World of Horror finally fully released this year. And right off the bat, the visuals are incredibly unique and fun, and even though they're as low bit as it gets, still manages to be consistently unsettling. The music fits right alongside the visuals and leaves just as big of an impact. but you've probably heard all of this before. Let's move on. Even to the admission of the developers, the UI is beyond overwhelming when you're starting out. And frankly, the tutorials are only so helpful at alleviating the confusion. In fact, the combat tutorial is so out of date, I'm pretty sure it refers to UI elements that don't even exist anymore, or it's just so poorly written that I never figured out what they were talking about over the course of multiple playthroughs. On top of this, the tutorial forces you to equip an improvised weapon. Doing this on the beginner level will almost certainly get you killed, as you're meant to use the wildly stronger weapon that they give you to make the beginner scenario, easier than trying to kill an eldritch horror with a broken bottle. If you're able to navigate the labyrinth that is getting a basic understanding of the game, it's actually simple to a fault. You'll essentially be walking from point to point, guessing what the best choice is to each event that comes your way. So why is it on the list of good horror games? Honestly, the visuals and the music do a lot of the heavy lifting. But the variety of mysteries and endings within those mysteries tie it all together. Eldritch horrors, stinky ramen, cursed fertilizer, evil eels, it's got it all. And maybe I don't love the gameplay of navigating all these horrors, but the obvious creativity and passion put into the project had me smiling ear to ear. Whew, boy, I'll be honest with you, pickings were thin this year. I had to go through a lot to end up with these 3. If you're interested in some of the slop I played through, then wait for me to release the next video. Jeez, I have to make it, okay? These don't just come out of thin air. Ooh, and I bet you want to know right when it comes out. Well, there's nothing that could possibly help you with that. So just get real.